And welcome into the Thursday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Hope everybody's off to a wonderful start on this Thursday morning. Joe Rexrode, how are you? What's going on?
I'm okay. I'm looking right behind you. Like Schefter just has some of the weirdest wording on things. Giants set to hire John Harbaugh soon. Okay.
So soon.
Okay.
What does that mean?
But I think it's pretty clear that the dream's over, everybody.
It does appear that way. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody. Not too much on last night. I didn't watch any of the Vandy game, basketball. I asked Joe about it a little bit here.
I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I missed that. So I was sports free last night for the most part, but doing great. Happy Thursday, everybody.
We got a lot going on the show today. We'll have Darby Hendrickson, Predators assistant coach, at 7:30. Our weekly visit with Charles Robinson coming up at 8 o'clock. And we got a lot of stuff on the coaching front to get into with Charles Robinson. We'll go. How long do you think it would take, Joe, if we were to ask Charles individually about every person that the Titans either have scheduled to be interviewed or have already interviewed to this point?
I think that's a good idea. Charles, a full, thorough synopsis of all 19 people. Go. Well, I guess we can make it 18 now because we need to talk about, we don't need to talk about the Harbster.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of like this because I really like making fun of that cheater, Jim Harbaugh, and it would have been hard.
Yeah.
You kind of restrain yourself a little bit. It's like, you don't want to totally offend the new coach in town by ripping his brother. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So now it's just open season on the Harbsters. And, yeah, and John, I don't know. What is this a good move for John Harbaugh?
The Giants? Well, look, I have no idea on the Jackson Dart front. Like I like some of what I saw from him this year. He also has to learn how to play football without lowering his helmet into people at some point. So that's going to be interesting to see if that happens. But I said this last week. Like they got Malik Neighbors. I know he's coming off the ACL, but it's a pretty good piece that you've got. You got Abdul Carter, and I know he didn't have a great rookie year, but Dexter Lawrence, like they've got some pieces on the defensive side of the ball as well. So, and it's New York, and that's really appealing to some people. Others, it's not. But like there are some things working for that job, and it's one of those very recognizable franchises in the NFL. So I say all that to say I have no idea on the Dart front. Like Dart, you could tell me that he's a really good player 5 years from now, and I'd say sure. And you could tell me he's not in the league 4 years from now, and I'd be like, yeah, I could probably see that too. I have no idea on Jackson Dart.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask this question. Does this tell us that John Harbaugh thinks more of him than he does of Cam Ward?
Well, you would have to assume that, I would think. I mean, I don't know if it's as cut and dry as that. It is interesting to me that, the reporting last night before all this started to come out that he's basically taken the Giants job today was, well, he's met with the Giants and now he's going to meet with the Titans and have basically a full-length interview with the Titans. Now, that wasn't going to be here. The Titans were going to his home, which I found interesting at the time. But now I guess we know why, because I don't know how much that was ever really going to happen.
Yeah, I don't. It's interesting. I don't know. Is it like he's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to come. Okay, we'll come to you. Okay.
Don't worry, John. We'll hop on the plane.
You know what, guys? I got stuff going on, and I got to go to the dry cleaner, and so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I was following along. I mean, Rossini, who was on with us yesterday, she was basically play-by-play of everything he was doing. So it was kind of, so I mean, I and the reporting for it's kind of like you can follow along with her and with Rappaport and Schefter and everybody. It's kind of like consistently he's going to give – it was like he's going to give the Titans this interview, not sure about the Falcons. Maybe it's just the Titans. And then you get to, okay, he's just going to go ahead and pull the trigger on this. So I think it certainly could have – I mean, it seems to me like it's just someone who over a few hours is kind of like evolves to, do I really like, am I wasting my time? Am I wasting their time? I never bought that. Like he needed to like do the Titans interview or more interviews for leverage. I don't think that's I mean, they're already giving him the world, right? They're already giving him whatever the heck he wants. I'm sure he's going to make 20 mil or whatever. So I don't think it was a leverage. And it was just like, do you feel like there could be something better out there? And at some point last night, he decided, no, I'm going with the Giants. So
yeah. And if you're a Titans fan, you were clearly in the mix, right? But I guess the backup question now is, was this really like Giants the whole time? The fact that he didn't actually, he's not going to end up giving you an interview throughout this. Like, it's just, he got in the building with the Giants. He's obviously watched film on Dart. He's watched film on Ward, and the Giants is where he's going to end up. Like, does that make you feel worse about all this? Because I do. Like, I think there was some legitimate excitement in the Titans fan base yesterday about the idea of landing John Harbaugh, and the fact that from yesterday to today, it's gone from, well, it looks like the Titans are at least going to get an interview and then we'll see, to 24 hours later, he's on the cusp of signing a deal with the Giants without having really met with you. I wonder if that changes kind of how Titans fans view all this.
Yeah. And the texter says, maybe it's not about Dart, but it's ownership trust. Sure. I mean, again, like the Mara family, obviously that franchise, tough times now for sure. But like, if you want to compare them to say the other team in New York, but really New Jersey, there's a vast difference. The Giants have won Super Bowls in different eras, and they have generally been a well-run franchise and things like that. So, yeah, we'll never know. We'll never know exactly how much he liked the Titans, how he actually compared just straight up Cam Ward film to Jackson Dart film. I still think that you can look at the fact that, as Diana reported, he was grinding on the film and he decided that he was going to give them an interview. I still think there's something there, I don't think he was just BSing people when I say his agent, whatever, was telling people that he was going to talk to the Titans and the Falcons too. The Giants obviously made an impression, and the Giants have gone full court press on this. I mean, they're, sending him whatever, crumble cookies and whatever they're doing, what are candy telegrams or what? I don't know what the heck they're doing. Like every 5 hours I look and it's like something new that's got sent to his house, bunch of Amazon packages. I don't know.
They got Eli just riding around waiting on where they could send him next.
Yeah. Eli's on call.
Personal chauffeur.
Yeah, exactly. Eli's like his little personal Uber driver.
Yeah, there you go. That solves his problem in the Lincoln Tunnel.
That's true.
Eli,
we got a job for you.
Yeah, so I guess he's good and living. I hope, I hope Harbster, I'm telling you, man, just get a sweet little apartment in Manhattan and deal with the commute, just that's my advice. You don't live in Jersey.
Travel planner Joe Rexrode over here.
That's right.
Real estate agent. He can do the whole thing.
If you're going to work, if you're going to work for the New York Giants, live in freaking New York, even though they're in New Jersey.
They are. So with that, Titans fans, how are we feeling about all this? It looks like John Harbaugh is set to become the new coach of the New York Giants. Meanwhile, there's still all these other interviews that are going on. By the way, Diana Rossini just putting it out there that former Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken is expected to join John Harbaugh with the Giants. So
there you
I
go.
don't think that's any surprise, but that probably answers your question of, had he become the head coach here, who would the offensive coordinator be? Todd Monken. Looks like it's who it would be.
Yeah, it kind of seemed that way. And I will say, for the stuff they do, I mean, you can do some of that with Jackson Dart, although, like you said, he is not good at keeping himself out of harm's way. He's definitely, like, there's definitely more quarterback run stuff you can do with him than Cam Ward.
I mean, all the concussion protocol people in the league, and he's going to know them all by name if he keeps playing the way he does right now.
Yeah. Harbs, stay out of the tent. Buddy.
Oh, rap sheet saying a 5-year deal.
Okay. 5-year deal.
So now
coming together as we speak.
Yeah, there we go. Soon. He'll sign soon. Texter says, I'm sorry, but I didn't want him. Can't relate to players anymore. Dumb play calling like rotating Henry on drives. Yeah, well, I don't know. The relate to players, I mean, obviously it got a little strained with Lamar Jackson, although I think that was actually more Monken per the reporting, and Harbaugh was kind of the
buffer.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I think he's pretty good, and it's pretty good hire for the Giants, and it was worth a run. And I still think that through all this, I think the Titans look better. I mean, there's been some like other candidates. If you're another candidate, you're like, John, consider these guys seriously. John thinks the GM's good. John,
Yeah.
John liked the film of Cam Ward. I mean, I don't think this whole thing hurts the Titans, other than obviously you wanted John Harbaugh.
That's where we start today. John Harbaugh looks like he's on the verge of signing to be the next head coach of the New York Giants. What do you make of that move for him? And where do the Tennessee Titans go from here? We will get into that coming up next. We got the best and worst things in sports coming up later this hour. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Giants on the doorstep of hiring John Harbaugh to be their next coach. Rossini putting it out there almost 10 minutes ago that Todd Monken expected to join him on the staff as the offensive coordinator, so no surprises there. And now where do you go from here if you're the Tennessee Titans? You've got Harbaugh looking like he's landing with the Giants. You've interviewed a ton of other people. We had Kuharski on yesterday, and we went through a lot of the names. This whole thing started with everybody thinking that, Matt Nagy may be the favorite for the job here. And that, when you get into the John Harbaugh part of this, and we talked about Mike Tomlin and what his future is going to look like in Pittsburgh, and obviously now we know that that's not going to be this coaching cycle. Kevin Stefanski is out there. A lot of different opinions on Mike McDaniel. Saw some people that were taking photographs of Mike McDaniel at the airport yesterday. A lot of things going on out there. So
this airport,
I think so.
Oh, because the Lions fans were all over him the other day at the airport.
Yeah,
that guy is just noticeable.
Apparently, well, he is. There's no doubt.
Sweet glasses.
So, how do you rebound from this if you're the Titans? I mean, clearly they're prepared, right? Like they've interviewed a ton of people. There are still people left to be interviewed. We've gone through all the names on the list, so you can cross Harbaugh off the list. It was fun to think about, and now if you're Borgonzi, there's still a lot of work that you've got to do now to sift through this and identify who your next head coach is going to be. What is interesting, and I think it's a great point you brought up in the last segment, I think there was clearly at least some interest from John Harbaugh, and I would think that helps with other coaches around the league, at least the perception of where you are right now. Now, we've had a couple of these texts so far about how this was all just a show because Amy was never going to pay the money. I guess we'll never know for sure.
So does that mean Harbaugh was in on the gag?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
There was clearly at one point last night he was planning on meeting with them today. I would not imagine that there would be a plan to meet with the Titans if there wasn't at least a ballpark number that they agreed on. All right, don't waste my time if you're going to be offering me, $12 million a year.
Yeah, that's why agents, like an agent is not, I don't think, going to let his client even get down the road unless parameters are agreed upon. I mean, I suppose you could lie, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're going to come with us? Okay, hold on. I got to move some money around. Don't deposit that check yet. I got to move a few things around.
Yeah.
And then we can get you going with the HR stuff. Yeah, I mean, think about it.
I need you guys to trade Jeffrey Simmons. We got to sign John Harbaugh.
I mean, let's think logically about this. If you're Harbaugh's agent, why would you even entertain a team that doesn't understand the situation? I get it. I get it. People are, and I will say, yesterday I'm driving. I almost drove off the road because Corey Curtis with Jake Lyman is like, I mean, I agree with most of what Amy's done. And it's like, I stopped and I texted him. I'm like, really? Let me write out everything she's done. Now I want you to tell me what most is. And of course it was basically he agreed with firing John Robb, firing the people she hired. Okay. Sure. What about the hires? Whatever. So we need to balance it out. We need to calm down and not, whitewash everything Amy's done poorly, but also if you think about it logically, why would the Titans even get into this if they weren't willing to pay him? Everybody knows the score. This is an obvious he's going to be a top of the market coach. And, if you think, again, these owners, their investments are going great, man. Their investments are going great. They are making money. She is going to be they're going to be doing just great. So the idea that, I can pay a coach 10, but I can't pay a coach 20. I mean, it really is a drop in the bucket when you look at the whole picture, right? So I don't think that's what this is.
I don't think that's what it is either. But I would also say now that he is off the board, I mean, you're not going to find another coach out there that's in this coaching cycle that's going to cost you, I don't think, anywhere near as much as John Harbaugh was going to cost you.
I mean, you're also sitting there hey, at least we're saving a lot of millions here. So sure.
I mean, so who do you think is just knowing that you can't get inside the brain of Mike Borgonzi here? What name or names immediately emerged to kind of the top of your list now? Because look, I still stand by what I said yesterday. I understand that they're now not going to land John Harbaugh. I still think, and this is totally my opinion, people can disagree with it, and that's fine. If Matt Nagy is who they end up with after all this, when you have Stefanski out there, when you have McDaniel out there, when you have Harbaugh that was at least, somewhat interested in your franchise. If it comes back to Nagy, I don't think that that's going to be very popular around here. I would not like to see it go that way. There are several other combinations I would rather see before that, including, by the way, Saleh. Like I would rather see Saleh.
Oh yeah,
than Nagy.
no, I would too. I'm not like I appreciate Nagy again. It's interesting because we've talked about like the Dan Pompei story, which is a very good story. But I didn't come away. I came away like, again, like you get a glimpse into, behind the curtain and the human stuff that goes on as a coach and all that stuff with your family and everything. But I didn't come away thinking, man, I really would like that guy as my head coach. Right. So, and especially like to me, if you're going to go that route, then you'd want someone who is calling plays and who's really confident that they're going to be good at calling plays. And it's like he wants to either be a head coach, CEO, or a play calling OC. I mean, so then he's going to come here and you're going to get into the OC cycle, right? Like to me, then get a better culture coach than that.
Well, and the other part of this that's interesting, if this happens today, and it looks like it's going to happen probably before we're off the air today, that he gets hired as their head coach. Well, there's your first domino, right? So the domino has fallen. He's got to build out his staff. How much of a sense of urgency kicks in with all these other jobs that are open to go ahead and, make your decision, right? Like I understand Titans still have some more interviews lined up. Like I think McCarthy is supposed to interview with the Titans on Saturday, right? So there's still more interviews left to be done. But now that the Giants have made their move, how quickly do some of these other jobs start to get filled, right? Like, so if you're the Titans, does the urgency to get this decision-making process completed pick up now that Harbaugh is going to be gone and signed with the Giants?
Yeah, I certainly could be the case. I'm trying to think of, what the next one would be. I mean, who is there an order? Is there an obvious order here?
I don't know.
Stefanski might be the most desirable, but then again, there are some people who are like questioning him and whatever all that happened this year, and just so I think there's a lot more candidates who are like more comparable after this. But yeah, I mean, I figure, I mean, by the end of tomorrow, I bet you there's at least another job or two that's filled, and maybe the Titans.
Could be. I mean, that's typically how we see this go, is like a job gets filled and then it's like, all right, well, now all of a sudden all these jobs are getting filled here. So I wondered if this changes it from that standpoint. I mean, again, if you're Arizona, were you worried about the John Harbaugh part of this before the domino started to fall? Probably not, right? So you're operating your own way. If you're Cleveland, you probably weren't all that concerned about the John Harbaugh part of this. So
yeah, they're in the JV coaching search.
Exactly. So I mean, could those teams hire someone where it doesn't necessarily affect the Titans? I guess. But the building out the staff part of it is interesting. Like, how many of these coaches just have a staff ready to go? I have no idea what the answer to that is.
Yeah, no, and Kaharski was hammering that point yesterday. It's a very good one. There's a good reason to go as quickly as possible now to get a leg up on. I mean, there's so many people, and of course you're going to keep some people. You got some people already locked in, but there even like analysts and quality control people. There's a fight for some of them, let alone your position coaches, coordinator. I mean, so yeah, I think now it really gets to, because of course Harbaugh, he has his people, but I'm sure there's some other, he's going to be able to. I mean, there are a lot of people who will be like, okay, I'll go work for John Harbaugh with the Giants.
And one of those mentioned for DC is Denard Wilson with the Titans.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. He's on the short list of a couple of names that could be a DC candidate there.
Yeah. And that would be great for Denard, because I think that's like his step. And then, you could see them being good, him then getting a head coaching opportunity off that. But yeah, the Titans, that first of all, just tell Fossil, just hang tight, just stay here. Whoever comes in, we're going to make him hire you,
Yeah.
or retain you. But then a lot of other things that you got to figure out quickly.
A lot of thoughts on this on the text line. We will get into those coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. John Harbaugh on the doorstep of signing with the New York Giants. Where do the Titans go from here? Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe, one texter texting in says, honest question, why do so many people love John Harbaugh but hate Mike McCarthy? They basically have the same resume. It is interesting to look at. John Harbaugh has, in 18 years, a record of 180 and 113. Okay. Mike McCarthy in 18 years has a record of 174 and 112, 174, 112 and 2. I mean, it's basically right there, basically right there together. So they both have one Super Bowl. The Super Bowl that they both won was a long time ago. At this point, it is very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a very fair point to bring up. I think a couple things. I think public persona is part of it. And John Harbaugh, not Jim Harbaugh, not the weird brother who cheats, but John Harbaugh is a very gregarious, like there's always this, the stuff on the sideline where it's like, Lamar, you want to go for it? Yeah, come on, let's go for it. So there's that. And McCarthy just kind of comes off as a bump on a log sometimes.
He does.
You know?
I've said from the jump, though, before I knew that John Harbaugh was going to be available, McCarthy would be my guy. That's who I would hire.
No, I mean, I think he's definitely overall being disrespected by a lot of Titans fans that are kind of dismissed. I will say, though, I think you also have to look at Harbaugh. Again, I think that everything, he's won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. And yes, I understand he didn't get done with Lamar Jackson. I mean, who knows what happens if Mark Andrews catches a freaking touchdown pass last year in Buffalo, but they didn't get it done. I still think, though, that the whole transition to Lamar Jackson and the boldness of that move, you forget, like at the time, it was like, really? You think that's going to work in the NFL? And obviously it has. It's worked tremendously well. So I think that it's sort of like innovation and boldness that goes into that whole situation where a lot of people are like, Lamar Jackson's not going to be an NFL quarterback. That is something that I think puts him, ahead of like a McCarthy. But yeah, it's certainly the numbers say what they say, and it was a long time ago for both of them winning it all. Now, again, Harbaugh won it with Flacco.
Sure.
McCarthy wins it with Aaron Rodgers in his prime. A little different there.
Yes. Well, Harbaugh, while he hasn't won a Super Bowl recently, I mean, he's always pretty much for the most part been in contention. So there is that part of it too. It's been a while since McCarthy has been in contention. Now, McCarthy didn't have MVP of the league Lamar Jackson when he was with the Dallas Cowboys either. So it is close. Like I'm just going straight up by resume. It's pretty close between John Harbaugh and Mike McCarthy if you want to go that way, but I don't think it's viewed that way at all. I mean, McCarthy still is on the list to be interviewed by the Tennessee Titans, so it's possible.
Well, and good. I mean, it should be, despite Karski's erroneous reporting about this horrible rift and hatred that went on in the building. Right?
Can't wait for Tic Tac Titans to talk about that.
Yeah. Tic Tac Titans.
Tic Tac Titans.
That is the guy. I just want to make sure. Like, that's the guy's like, oh my God, Matt Gillihan, what are you doing? Like, this guy who screams into the right. So. That's him, right?
I believe so. I think that's who that is.
Shout out, Tic Tac Titans.
Shout out.
Oh my goodness, what are you doing?
So, what do you think would be the most popular hire that the Titans could now make with Harbaugh out the door? Would it be Stefanski? Does that person exist? Is there not that there's not good candidates out there, because Joe, we know how this works. Like, whoever they hire, I would imagine it's going to be somebody that you've got a head coaching background where you look at it and be like, well, see, things maybe didn't work out great here, but you learn from your mistakes. You come to the Titans, you got Cam Ward, it's going to be fine. And that could be McDaniel, that could be Saleh, whoever. Who do you think right now the Titans could hire that would be the most exciting for the fan base? Who would be the least exciting of the realistic candidates that are out there?
It's a good question.
For example, I don't know that I consider Brian Daboll a realistic candidate for the head coaching job, even though he is being interviewed for the head coaching job.
Yeah.
I think that screams to me more of like a potential coordinator type interview.
And that's what Karski was like quickly dismissive of that yesterday. That's an OC hire. That's an OC interview. And I guess, he's also in on this. They're all getting intel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's something to that, but it's like you might have taken that a little too far. But
it's like the CIA.
That's a good question. I think because I think the majority of the fan base would be pretty excited about Kevin Stefanski. I think more people should be excited about the idea of Mike McDaniel, but I think I like again, I get it. Reaction I've seen some today and all week, which is like that nerd is not a head coach; he's an OC. I understand the sentiment there, but I don't think that's a bad outcome. It's probably one of those two. I mean, I do think there was definitely some momentum for Saleh, but again, that was before we knew some of these people who became available.
Yep.
But I think if it's McCarthy all through all this and it comes to him, I think it'll be less excitement than there should be.
I would agree with that. I also, it is kind of funny to me that people, I agree, might be less excited about Mike McCarthy than they would be like Robert Saleh. And it's like, I understand that Robert Saleh was with the Jets, and I understand that Robert Saleh's done a really good job. And look, I'm not trying to hate on Robert Saleh, because if they hired Robert Saleh, I'd be like, okay, that may have a chance to end up being good. But I mean, go look at Mike McCarthy's record. It's pretty good, man. I mean, you're talking 288 games, and I understand he had Aaron Rodgers. I get it. But 174, 112, and 2. Like, he's a good football coach.
Sure. Yeah, I think one thing that hurts him is, well, especially that year when Dallas was really good and your Packers went in there and just trucked them. Was that 2 years ago? Or was that 3 years ago? 3 years ago, right? Was that 3 years ago?
It was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah,
so,
okay. That was just 2 years ago. But so that he had some teams that underperformed in the postseason recently. But yeah, I guess you always have the question of when someone gets detached from the league. You have that. I mean, I said the same thing. Jason Garrett. Now with Jason Garrett, it's a much longer period of time, but it's like there is something to being like in the league in some capacity, even when you're a Vrabel and you're just like the guy who races Jameis Winston to the Gatorade cooler after practice. Like, you're still in the league. You're kind of on a daily basis part of it. There's the schematic. It's always evolving, always copycatting and all that stuff. I mean, there's some fair questions in that regard. And then you have the relationship piece of it. But obviously it must not be that bad if they interview him.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Like Brinker not gonna show up to the interview or something.
McCarthy gets so like, is Chad gonna be actually around?
Yeah, Chad's not here, is he? Chad here? Okay, all right, cool.
You guys are getting in and out.
Never.
So can we send Chad to pick up the in and out? That'd be good.
So no, it's
a lot of votes for Saleh on the text line, by the way.
Okay.
A lot of votes for Saleh as head coach, because I think people really like the idea of Saleh as head coach and McDaniel as OC.
Yeah.
My question is, how realistic is that going to be with McDaniel interviewing for all the head coaching jobs that he's interviewing for? And also, if he's not getting the head coaching job, and I don't know the answer to this, you can tell me. If you're him and it's going to be an offensive coordinator position, what's more attractive? Coming here and working with your buddy under Robert Saleh with Cam Ward, and you're hoping that you can mold Cam Ward into something good, or going to work in Detroit with Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who are good.
Yeah, because the thing is, they're like, they have all their skill back, and if they hit on like a draft and free agent 2 offensive linemen, then you're probably going to score 33 points a game next year, and you're going to be a head coach the year after that.
Well, by the way, I didn't even mention Barry Sanders 2.0 and Jahmyr Gibbs up there that everybody talks about.
Yes, good player. Good player. He's fast.
I didn't look. I'm not the one making the comparisons. Everybody was earlier this year.
Yeah. I swear, once that started, I think his whole season.
I think it did. I think it kind of fell apart after that. Yeah.
Now that's to me. If he is not going to get a head coaching job, that would be a hard OC gig to pass up, I would think. And it seems like working with Campbell seems pretty good. So
sure.
Yeah, I think the Titans would have a hard time probably getting him to be OC. But maybe, I guess, like you said, everybody's going to look at Cam. They're going to look at the Cam film. Maybe he thinks very highly of him. I mean, shoot, Cam was playing in the same stadium as him last season too, so maybe he got a little bit of a close-up look then. Oh, you never know. But Yeah, I think I'm trying to. What other head coaching jobs do we know that McDaniel's interviewing for?
I think
At
the
least a
Browns
couple
were on the
others, right?
list. I
Yeah.
could find the list, but I think it was 4 total.
Okay. So yeah, I think right now, I think he'd be my number one. But I have always been on the Saleh train. Like if you could get Saleh and McDaniel together, that might still be my number one. I just don't know if that's realistic now because of the Lions factor.
Well, by the way, he interviewed with the Ravens too. So Browns, Falcons, Titans, and Ravens.
Boy, kind of intriguing to think about him being the Ravens head
Of
coach
Lamar
too,
Jackson.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson with some of the stuff he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but what about Saleh, but not McDaniel? What about Saleh with Kingsbury?
I'm not a huge Kingsbury guy, as you know, but like I don't hate it, right? Like as offensive coordinator, I'm okay with Cliff
The
Kingsbury.
thing about Kingsbury is, again, like your reaction to the head coaching interview. I think I think there's a lot of like, yeah, dude's not a head coach. So could it be a Josh McDaniels kind of thing where it's like this dude's good as an OC, and we're not really that worried about losing him?
I don't know. Maybe like I guess I would say I would ask the question. While I don't think his background as a head coach is all that impressive, like he was okay at Texas Tech and he had moments at Arizona, but it's Arizona and it didn't last. Was it so bad? Like Josh McDaniels as a head coach in now 2 different spots was so bad that I think you'd be almost crazy as an owner to be like, well, the 3rd time, let's go try that again and think that that's going to be a dramatically different. Was it so bad with Kingsbury that somebody won't give him another shot at some point down the line? I don't know that it was. So I don't know.
Might take a little bit though.
May take a little bit.
So you got that going for you.
I mean, he was the OC in Washington. Why is he bailing there?
Well, they
fired him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which to me is, who knows? I don't know everything about that, but it seems crazy. Like he got scapegoated for the injuries, But I don't know. Maybe he could have done more with
Marcus getting people fired again.
Well, man, that's what I was just, maybe Marcus. He didn't quite maximize Marcus and his potential greatness.
Maybe he did maximize Marcus. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. You got the best and worst things in sports coming up next. We'll take your best things and your worst things on our text line. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is the worst. You look like you're feeling sorry for yourself.
He's one of one. He is him.
This is a Coke bottle. It's not a crystal ball.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
It is that time of the week, time for the best and worst things in sports. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe Rexrode, kick us off with the best and worst things in the world of sports.
Thank you. This is a basketball-free week for me. I just want you to know, Robby. It's hard. I mean, I usually try to weave in some hoops, but my best in sports is this coaching cycle. It really, as much as anything, because it is keeping us from doing any draft talk right now, and that's pretty beautiful. God. I mean, we might get to February almost before we even get into really talking draft stuff, which is pretty exciting, I would say.
That'd be great.
It's a crazy cycle. I mean, the fact that this year, every once in a while, we would talk about, Harbaugh, Tomlin, they're both moving on. It's wild. And I know that right now, not exciting for Titans fans that John Harbaugh has chosen the Giants, but still a lot of good possibilities for you. My worst in sports, well, it's got to be this whole – I don't want to beat it to death, but just the whole thing with the Jacksonville presser, which, again, it's all Schefter's fault. So really it's Schefter. He's the worst in sports, but also his buddy McAfee. I'd put them both together. But, hey, that's what someone like me who's in sports but who really is just trying to use this as a way to cover politics would think. So, we all hate sports, all of us out here covering sports, getting rich, covering sports because we hate sports. Freaking idiot.
I look forward to you reporting from the Nolensville City Council meeting. It'll be fun.
Well, I'm trying. If I can, if I can impress a little bit more with the sports stuff, then maybe I can get there.
Ian Safar, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
My best is also NFL. I think I'm just going to go straight divisional round as my best this week. The matchups pretty legit. I think all the teams that we kind of thought are legit made it. The Bills, Patriots, Broncos setting up some good matchups. The NFC, the West, you could maybe just put the NFC West as the best thing in sports this week, other than the Cardinals. So I think I'm looking forward to the weekend of games. So I'm going to put that as my best. And I actually have a little bit of audio as my worst.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers, I don't know who heard his little end of season spiel here post game about Mike T in the quote, internet experts or whatever. So we'll play a little bit of this right here.
The Mike Tomlins of the world, Matt LaFleur's of the world. Those are just two that kind of I played for. And when I first got in the league, there wouldn't be conversation about whether those guys were on the hot seat, but the way that the league is covered now and the way that there's snap decisions and the validity given to the Twitter experts and all the, experts on TV now who make it seem like they know what the hell they're talking about. To me, that's an absolute joke. And for either of those two guys to be on the hot seat is really apropos of where we're at as a society and a league, because obviously Matt's done a lot of great things in Green Bay and we had a lot of success. Mike T has had more success than damn near anybody in the league.
Just the whole, I don't know how many people remember the whole immunized or whatever with the whole COVID situation with him and the shot, and did he take the shot and who was he listening to, and do your research. And I did my research.
Caves, drugs.
So, he could pick and choose his spots here, but let's have a little self-reflection and self-realization on what's going on.
Like the idea that all of a sudden now coaches are getting
fired.
Yeah, dude. In 2007, there were more than this. That was basically before social media.
Oh, by the way,
what a weirdo.
Mike Tomlin left.
Yeah,
it's been pretty clear.
Tomlin's Twitter said I gotta go. Sorry.
So LaFleur's interesting. Still no deal.
Rodgers likes to pick and choose which Twitter doctors he likes to listen to, I guess.
Yeah. Good worst.
Still no
He's-
deal
He's a good worst
with LaFleur.
in general. Yeah.
Now
Matt
Harbaugh's
LaFleur.
gone. So.
I think he's right, Robbie. Why don't you respect Matt LaFleur a little
Well,
bit
we'll
more?
see. We'll see how it goes. My best thing in sports, Roman Yossi. Roman Yossi heating up offensively for the Nashville Predators. He's got 5 points in his last 2 games. And a week from today, which means I guess I could have done this next week, but I'm going to go ahead and get a head start on it. A week from today, as long as everything stays on track here, that will be game number 1,000 for Roman Yossi coming up. So all in a Nashville Predators uniform. Obviously, he had the health stuff this offseason. He's back. Stamkos was talking about this the other day. Like, it's not a coincidence that they got him back in the lineup. And basically, since they've gotten him back in the lineup, they've been pretty good. So Yossi playing well right now. He's not what he was 6 years ago or anything like that, but he's still playing really well right now. Game winner against the Oilers the other night, and Roman Yossi closing in on 1,000 games, all with the Nashville Predators. So that is my best thing in sports. My worst thing, I got to tell you, and I feel almost like old man yelling at cloud complaining about this because it's what I do. The transfer portal in college football is so exhausting. It really is. And just trying to keep up with who's playing where, for me, kind of being hyper-focused on the Tennessee part of it, like how many guys, it's like, well, cool, I remember being really excited about him as a recruit. Now he's gone. And, oh, cool, I remember when he signed, and I remember some of the big plays he made as a freshman. It's like, oh, okay, he's gone. So it sucks. Like, the transfer portal sucks in college football. And there's no use complaining about it, really, because it ain't going anywhere, and it is what it is at this point. But trying to keep track of which quarterback is now where, and we were talking about TJ Finley yesterday. It's like, good grief, he's been in college football like he played with Peyton Manning out there. He's been in there so long. It's ridiculous, the transfer portal.
Yeah, really, if you boil everything down, because I think most people are like, yeah, there should be money. Of course there should be, right? Like early on, it was like, what, room and board, but it's like, no, they should get some money. I think most people are on board with that, but the constant movement, I think if you could boil down one thing,
it's awful
to change. But again, it will happen. Because Danny White is right. Like, there's only one answer, and he's been trying to tell everybody, like, there's one way to do this. They have to agree for guardrails. At some point, we'll get there. But in the meantime, it'll be a painful slog there, and it'll be at least a couple more years of this where it's just like, yeah. And there's just so many, some people improve their situations and all that stuff, but also I think some people are just rashly going for a little bit more money and in some cases hurting themselves.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We will continue the discussion on the Titans coaching front. We will get into some interesting reporting on the Ty Simpson front and now how the draft is shaking out a little bit later in next hour. Darby Hendrickson, Preds assistant coach, coming up at 7:30. Charles Robinson at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. We will have Predators assistant coach Darby Hendrickson joining us at 7:30. Preds back in action tomorrow on the road, taking on the Colorado Avalanche. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. We will get into the Titans head coaching search with him now that it appears John Harbaugh is off the board. The Giants are set to hire John Harbaugh. Looks like Todd Monken going to be the OC. And the reporting is that while the deal has not yet been signed, that it's looking like a 5-year deal for John Harbaugh with the New York Giants. Joe, the deal hadn't been signed yet. They're already talking about when the introductory press conference is going to be, which apparently is next week. So there you go. No deal yet, but press conference next week.
Soon. So, like we continue an hour later, we still have set to hire John Harbaugh soon.
Man,
I want to see what is Schefter's official explanation for the Packers and LaFleur right now? How is that framed?
Well, we've talked about the head coaching vacancies. I mean, what if that one falls apart? I mean, I guess the odds would still favor them reaching an agreement, but they've been working on it since Monday. It's Thursday. It's a head coaching contract. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out if you're trying to work out an agreement there. And here we are, and they haven't done it yet. So does it get to a point between LaFleur and the Packers where they're just like, yeah, man, this ain't going to work. We're just going to have to go our separate ways.
Yeah, like what are your beat writers saying? They can't just like, is everybody just kind of in just total limbo right now? Yeah, it's a little weird, man. It's a little weird. I don't want to get your hopes up, but interesting.
Well, now I don't know who they'd hire. My target's gone. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Harbaugh's out.
It's like, oh, okay.
Well, it kind of not that he was going to sit there and wait. He was already talking. You know, he was probably going to go with either, if not the Giants, probably I guess one of the other two teams. But I mean, Harbaugh just maybe it kind of speaks to what Dana said yesterday. She was like quickly like, nah. Packers, I don't think so. I mean, so I don't know.
Well, if he shakes free, does he move to the top of the list for Titans fans? Like if LaFleur is, now that Harbaugh's spoken for, if LaFleur and Green Bay I mean, I know LaFleur's got another year left on his deal. So, I mean, the Packers would have to like not only not sign him to an extension, but then consequently fire him, which I guess could happen. Does that
because he might say fire me.
He might say,
right?
Yeah, he might.
He's like, well, if that's what you guys think of me, then let's just
go ahead and
separate
get it done.
Ways, worlds apart.
He might.
Journey.
We'll see what happens. Does he move to the top of the list for Titans fans out there?
I would think so. And I
would think so
I
too.
guess I'd put him first on mine. I think you've probably like ruined me a little bit on Matt LaFleur.
I told you he'd be a good hire here
with your constant complaining. But yeah. No, I think you'd have to feel probably again, I've just come to this thing where I actually think Mike McDaniel's like really, really smart and better at all the stuff that people think. And so I'm very intrigued by him at a place where he doesn't have some of the challenges he had at Miami.
You are really warming to the Mike McDaniel idea.
Yeah, I really
like
am.
It.
Again, it's funny because I said the other day, and I still haven't gone out and found it, but there was like this Dolphins player who played there who had this impassioned endorsement of him, basically saying like he handles things really well. Because he does seem like a no BS guy. I understand he's nerdy and he's made some jokes sometimes. They're like, yeah, one didn't really land. But I also don't think he doesn't seem like a BSer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
he just seems like just like straight shooter. You can be a straight shooter without being Vrabel and hey, look at my lip, everybody. I think McDaniel is better at the big picture stuff than people think. That's just my sense of it. I guess I'd put LaFleur first.
I'm just thinking back to the Vrabel stuff. Remember all the reporting around? It was like, was it Diana and some others like, yeah, some general managers are like, is he too big? Like,
that guy scares me.
That guy scares me. If you go from Vrabel and in 2 years get down to McDaniel, it's like, oh, well, don't have to worry about that anymore. It's all good.
I like this guy. I can throw him around like a rag doll if I need to.
Mike, if you give me any lip, I'm going to punch you in the face. There's nothing you can do about it.
Amy gets him in a full Nelson.
I can do that with LaFleur too. So there you go.
That is true. Wow. What if like McDaniel and LaFleur had a little slap fight? Who would win that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'd go with
Titans,
McDaniel.
Titans have gone from the conversation of like, hey, if the head coaches in the league got in a fight, like the final three probably end up being like some version of Dan Campbell, Robert Saleh, and Vrabel. And now you got the opportunity to go to maybe LaFleur or McDaniel. Be at the bottom of that list.
I'd beat you in the quiz bowl.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, it's it is. I really do think, again, it's almost like a little bit different with like McCarthy. I mean, look, I think McCarthy just kind of seems like a bump on a log kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, like there is something to the whole, step off the bus and, that's a ball coach type thing, But yeah, man, I think I think McDaniel is gonna be a successful coach in this league, and maybe it's an opportunity right now. And again, I just think the OC thing for him is going to be hard to overcome Detroit if that's going to be his job next year. Another thing is like another thing with all this, if Chris Shula is just blows them away, and it's like, this is a guy. I mean,
which we'll not even see. It's like we're not even entertaining the possibility of that happening anymore.
But I'm open to, and I understand probably a lot of the fan base wouldn't love it, but I'm open to that too. And obviously it comes down to their ability to read people and their instincts on all this stuff. Or I guess Borgonzi's more than anyone, I think. But like that, again, look around the league. Look around the league at all the success stories where that's what happened. A coordinator blew somebody away, and they hired that coordinator instead of an established head coach.
Albert Breer putting this out there 10 minutes ago says the Titans will move forward, have an interview with ex-Cowboys/Packers coach McCarthy set for Saturday, interviews with Saleh and ex-Cardinals coach Jonathan Gannon on Sunday. Ex-Browns coach Kevin Stefanski remains a very strong candidate with the Tennessee Titans. So let me just go on record and saying the worst possible hire, Jonathan Gannon. Don't hire him to be your head coach. They're not going to. I think it's very much a would you like to potentially be DC type thing?
Yeah.
But when I saw that they were interviewing him, I was like, oh, okay. Jonathan Gannon, huh?
The
only thing that came to, like, I don't know if you guys have seen this. Go look up the videos of like Jonathan Gannon meeting Cardinals players for the first time when he got hired. It is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. He just starts making random buzzing noises. He's like, bzz, 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 like, right. It's the weirdest thing. I'll show it to you off the air.
Is it like the bee that was bothering the fake bee that was bothering Adam Gase at his
a little bit
conference?
Yeah, it's a very interesting deal.
Okay,
yeah,
weird. Yeah, I do feel like the Titans, maybe more than I've ever seen, it's like half of their quote unquote head coaching interviews are actually just coordinator interviews. Yeah. Right? It's like how many?
That's what happens when you go 20 deep.
Yeah, if you're on this list, you have to look around. Like some of these people have to be looking around and be like, they're not actually interviewing me to be the head coach, are they? But I guess it's
if you're Jonathan Gannon, what are your expectations? Like,
Yeah.
Are you really expected to be interviewed, like taken seriously as a head coaching candidate right now?
Yeah, you would not think so. I mean, crazier things have happened, but yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Mark in Nashville to the program. Mark, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning, Robert. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Mark?
Breaking news, Joe. Bill Parcells is going to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Bill Parcells. Put it down on paper, man.
I mean, how much older than Bill Belichick is he?
Not that much.
No, Joe, I'm intrigued with Mike McDaniel, too. I think he's a good coach, man. Now, does he maybe need to go be an OC for a year? Show some explosive offense, put up some good numbers, and get another shot. Maybe they got him linked to your Detroit Lions, Joe. Dan Campbell needs an OC. Maybe he'll bring in a Mike McDaniel.
I think they'd love to. Out. Yeah, I think they'd love to.
Yeah, I think if they get him up there, they're not going to let him leave the building, Joe. I mean, I hate what happened to the Titans. I knew Harbaugh, Robby. I knew Harbaugh wasn't coming here, man. I just knew it. And I hate that they got disappointed. They didn't even get off the runway. to get to Baltimore to talk to this guy. So, I mean, Robby, you keep talking Matt LaFleur. Robby, I like Matt LaFleur. I'd put him at the top of the list if Green Bay lets him go. I believe Green Bay would be making a huge mistake if they let Matt LaFleur go. He's a good coach. Now, did he make some mistakes down the stretch with the team? Yeah, but they had a lot of injuries. And Robby Hampton, defensive coordinator, he needs to take some blame for this too. It's the defense that got exposed. Now, I know they lost Parsons, but they choked in 2 big games against Chicago this year. And, I don't know, man. I like Matt LaFleur. I know you want to see him gone, Robby. But then, Robby, you want him here with the Titans. I mean, what gives with that, man? I don't.
Well, it's
I
two
don't-
completely different
I don't follow
situations. It's a Super Bowl roster in Green Bay where he has constantly underachieved. I mean, it's two completely different situations. The Titans are in basically the beginning stages of a rebuild and trying to mold a young quarterback. They've got their quarterback in Green Bay. They've got their roster in Green Bay. The Titans are not there at the moment.
So he's a coach who can take you so far. There's coaches like that. He can take you so far, and then the Titans would be thrilled to have a quarterback develop like he's done and win.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a totally different situation.
Yeah. But I'm like you though, Rob. I do think, and Joe, I do think Mike McDaniel is going to be a great coach in this league. I mean, he's got an innovative mind. He's one of the best play callers there are. But I don't know if his time will be this year. Like I said, maybe he go to the OC or another team and show explosive offense and get some more recognition. I believe his next time around, the real Mike McDaniel will come out. But I hope Nagy, McCarthy, I hope they don't deal with any of those coaches. They're recycled coaches, Arthur Smith and all those guys. But hey, man, it's cold out here this morning, Joe. I still hadn't got my coat.
Get that Carhartt going, baby.
Yeah, you get me that Carhartt. I can get that Carhartt going, Joe.
There you go.
Hey, man, y'all have a good day and stuff.
Thank you, Mark.
We're going to get on up this road. All right, see you, Robby.
Thanks, Mark.
Joe.
We will take more of your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, some developments yesterday that make you look at this upcoming draft class at the quarterback part of it and think, boy, how bad could this one be? We will get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Game Nashville Sports Network, your home for the college football championship. Monday night, catch all the action on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan as number 10 Miami takes on number 1 Indiana. College football championship coverage on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Parman Tractor and Equipment. Taking your thoughts. Speaking of college football, so Dante Moore has elected to come back to Oregon next year, Joe. So, which good on him. I actually think that's probably the right move for him to go back, play a little bit more college football, continue to develop and get better. But it does leave you looking at the potential quarterback class here in this year's NFL draft. I think everybody feels good about Fernando Mendoza going pretty high, probably number 1 overall. And then beyond that, what's it going to be? Now, Ty Simpson, we had a conversation about Ty Simpson, last week about could he be Tennessee's next quarterback? And we've seen some numbers kind of roll out since then. Apparently, Miami was interested in Ty Simpson, and all these other teams are interested in Ty Simpson, and he has since made the decision that he's going pro and he's going to be drafted. Right now, to me, he's clearly the number 2 quarterback. Question is, how high is he going to go? This is, we've talked about some bad quarterback classes over the last few years. And, we talked about with Cam Ward last year, obviously the baby hands draft with Kenny Pickett going number 1 overall. There have been a few that have been not overly exciting heading into the draft process. I don't know that I remember one exactly like this one where it's just like, okay, it's Fernando Mendoza. And then I guess maybe Ty Simpson could get drafted relatively high. And then who in the world knows after that? What do you make of how the NFL draft class at quarterback is looking like it might shake out here and how that could affect what we see coming up in the draft?
Yeah, maybe this ends up being like that draft, and it's like Mendoza goes, and that so that draft was what, baby hands at 17, and that's it, right? The first, which
I believe
is
that is
real,
correct.
which is just amazing. But maybe this is like Mendoza first, and then you wait a while.
By the way, it was 20th for Pickett. So that was,
Okay.
it was 20th, and that was it in the first round.
Yeah, that was Malik, and who was the third guy?
Let me go find the whole class.
Sorry. Yeah, I should remember that. But there was a third guy too that was talked about as, again, it's like, well, these are the top quarterbacks, and usually,
Wasn't Ritter, was it? No.
Actually,
May have been Ritter.
You may be right. Desmond Ritter, and he went in like
Third
the
round.
second or third to the Falcons, right? Yeah, so it's like, I remember there was people that year that were like, well, it's quarterbacks, it's the NFL, like they're all going to go in the first round. Well, no, they actually didn't. I'm really fascinated with Ty Simpson. I think that he has the talent. I think he's going to do great in interviews. I think the back thing, obviously they're downplaying it. Of course they are, but if I'm a team, I'm a little worried about that. You had to take epidurals before game, like I'm a little worried about that. Definitely, that's a huge. But if the medical clears and everything, then I think he'll probably go in the first round somewhere. Is it to the point where it's just because of quarterback neediness that he's just going to go in the top 5? Right now, if you force me to guess, I'll say yes.
Well,
I don't know.
When he was healthy this year and playing well, we were talking about him as potential number 1 overall. Now, I understand things can change, and Mendoza's played great since then. And obviously, you mentioned it, the epidural stuff and the injury concerns with Simpson they're going to come up in the draft process here. But I just wonder what that is going to look like, even beyond those two. Like I think Simpson's going in the first round. I'm interested to see where he goes in the first round. What about after that? Like, who's the next guy at quarterback? Is Carson Beck going to do so well for himself that he gets his way into a first round conversation?
Someone asking that in a text line, and
I heard Mel Kiper say that.
Is that right?
Headline around there. If Carson Beck plays well, he could, I don't know. I think he said like sixth overall, something like that.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. Possibly.
Pavia?
Yeah, if he comes out, and somebody's asked about him too. If Carson Beck comes out and is just great against that wagon of a team and beats them on Monday night, he helps himself. Like, you can't ignore it. And again, I think Carson Beck he can make the throws. He's pretty athletic. He's good size. Why not? It just, so you have to think about him. Yeah, people ask about Pavia. I mean, I think Chris, I assume you're joking. Pavia first round. Kenny from Spring Hill. Do you think he's moving up? Well, you take a quarterback out of the mix, right? I don't know. Again, Pavia, I think he's going to be a third day pick. What does that mean? I'm guessing 6th or 7th round, but we'll see. I mean, the Senior Bowl for him is, and Dane Brugler. At some point, we were slacking last fall, and he's like, or it might even been last year, but he's like,
humble brag.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Hey, Dane, hey, come on, give me your information personally. Thank you. Yeah, nice name drop there. But no, he said like the Senior Bowl, or whatever he's in, if he's Senior Bowl or whatever, that's a big deal for him. Just so people can see him. Again, measure him. I mean, he's short, and talk to him. I think he'll help himself because he's good. But he's going to be. I'll be shocked if he's higher than the 6th round.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, higher than the 6th. I mean, you never know. Could he go like 5th round? I guess I wouldn't be stunned by that. But like, if you're thinking that he's going to go like 2nd, 3rd round, I would be pretty stunned by that.
That'd be a stunner. That'd be awesome.
Oh,
and
I'd
again,
love to see it.
Like the whole story is, going to be like the Senior Bowl and the combine, like all it's going to be fascinating to watch with him. And then he'll probably help himself, but then someone's going to be like, yeah, but he said fart to voters. I think he'll overcome that. His brothers they got arrested. Sorry. Should have saved that for a rant. That would have been good. Oh, well.
Wonder who that'll be in the NFL. Your brothers are running around out there trying to evade the police.
You can't. How can you?
371-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, we'll be joined by Darby Hendrickson, Predators assistant coach. Preds are back in action, coming off a big win against the Edmonton Oilers. They'll be back at it tomorrow, taking on the Colorado Avalanche. That's coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. Preds with a large win the other night against the Edmonton Oilers. They're back at it coming up tomorrow, taking on the Colorado Avalanche. And to help us talk more about that, we head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Predators assistant coach Darby Hendrickson to the program. Darby, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning to you guys. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome, man.
Good.
Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So
Absolutely.
Darby, I want to start with your captain. Obviously, the offense is coming for him the last couple of games. He's got 3 goals, 5 points in that span, the game winner last time out against Edmonton. And Stamkos was talking in the locker room earlier this week about how it's not a coincidence that basically ever since Yossi's back in the lineup that you guys have played really well. You've won a lot of games. So what do you make of just the way your captain is playing? He's closing in on 1,000 games, all in a Predators uniform next week. What sort of a driving force has he been for you guys during this stretch?
For sure, he's been a huge part. And I would say just being on the outside, it's my second year in Nashville. You know, Roman's a guy that plays dynamic when he skates and almost plays fearless. But creates that offense. That's, he's the straw that stirs the drink, and that's always kind of been, I think, the key to the Predators when he's been here. There's been a lot of other parts, a lot of other people for sure, but he's got that dynamic to his game. And, when I was here last year, he wasn't healthy. So there was inconsistency probably of him being in the lineup, him feeling how he could feel. But I would say especially the last couple of weeks, it's the Roman Yossi, it's a guy that wants the puck. It's a guy that is not afraid to make a play. And obviously, the overtime goal the other night, but just the games before where you see him being him, carrying the puck and playing with confidence, or you can call it that chutzpah. He's got that mojo. And when that's happening for him, it's good things are happening for our team.
Yeah. So how would you describe like that trickle down effect? I guess both, on the ice, technically speaking, but then even, psychologically when he's going like this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I look at our team, we have our veterans. We have Forsberg, O'Reilly, the Stamkoses, and then on our defense, we have Roman. Roman would be our key leader back there. We have other veterans in Brady, Shea, Perbix and Hegg and Blankenberg, Willsby, these guys. But, Roman would be the guy that I think experience-wise is, going to be vocal on the bench, going to be vocal in the room at times that are needed be. But he's also going to be, take action. And I think those are the things that are needed where you grab it. And, when you have a guy of that stature, who grabs it and now you're contributing in an offensive way that we know he can, it's a great feeling.
Guys were talking about this in the room the other night about the standard of making the playoffs around here that has been created. And look, it's no secret that the season did not start great for you guys, and you guys have found your way back into the mix here in terms of making a push for the playoffs. So knowing that there's still a lot of work left to be done, how gratifying to be back in that spot where you're right in the mix of things right now for the playoffs, given the way things started this year.
Yeah, I know it's definitely credit to these players, and, we've had, it's a year, it's a different year for sure. Obviously, of the Olympic year, every team that the schedule's condensed, and we've gone to Sweden, like Pittsburgh, so it's even more. But it's exciting. There's a ton of games. We don't get a ton of practice time. And there's almost 3 phases of the year. One is kind of you get to Christmas. Then there's a little break that we had. Then from there, it's kind of the break to get to early February, which is the Olympics. And then after the Olympics, it's really the push to get to, early April where you're fighting for that spot. And I think the big thing for us, we've tried to be consistent here over the last month and a half and, be on the higher end of each week of, getting W's. But the big thing is we got to stay together. We got to battle. There's sort of a big group of teams in the West. There's 5-6 teams that are all battling for it. So we're just trying to stay in that pack, stay together, and keep going. And every night we mentioned Roman, there's been different people on different nights. Cole Smith, for example, the other night, we're tied against Washington. He comes out, gets a big goal to start that period. There's just moments in games that we're finding. And in our last 2 games are an example of that. We're tied going to the third, but we find a way somehow. And it's different people at different times. And when that happens, different people stepping up, you're usually getting the right results.
Could you identify maybe a spark, whether it's an individual or even a game, a moment that kind of got you guys from, I guess, the first quarter of the season to the way you're playing here now?
I think there's a combination of a lot of things. I look at Andrew Burnett as a leader. I mean, there's times where we're challenged early. I think he's an authentic guy who's himself, and he's trying to push buttons every day with those around him. And I think he's made a lot of good decisions on whether it's defensive pairings, whether it's, lines that we've had. And Barry Trotz has been around a long time. I know he's interacted and been around our players. His words of advice and when he speaks, that just all his years of experience are key. I look at Juice Saros and Juice Anunin, both goalies. We didn't have the best start, but there's a lot of games that you can kind of look back and go, well, he made a huge save at the end of the period. We were down by a goal. We weren't down by 2. And Juice Anunin, he's won his last 2 games. So there's just like different moments at different times for everyone. Ryan O'Reilly, when you think of his name, we were on a road trip a couple of weeks ago. He's making the plays that we need. We were playing Utah, for example. Stamkos scores 2 goals. Ryan O'Reilly makes 2 great plays in the third that we win the game. So just different times, different people. And you mentioned Stamkos. Obviously, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, gets a 600th goal. Probably a neat moment with our team when he scores. Everyone comes out. Mm-hmm. Just been kind of moments like that where I think our team is there's a good feeling.
Well, Darby, I want to drill down a little deeper on the Stamkos front because, Andrew Burnett has talked about him maybe changing the way that he plays a little bit and changing up areas that he likes to attack from. And you've seen him at the net front. You've seen him score goals in a lot of different ways on this stretch that he's in. From your vantage point, what have you seen from Stamkos maybe tactically that's allowed him to be as productive as he's been? We all know he can shoot the puck, but how have you seen him change his game over the past couple of months here?
I think what he's always had is skating ability. And, you see that on display on a nightly. When he's really going at his best, he's skating and delivering pucks. And I think everyone has that picture when he got his 600th goal as a one-time flank shot. Great pass by Forsberg, which has always been a staple. But there's, when he skates and delivers pucks, he's dangerous. And I think when he shoots the puck, whether it goes in or it's a funny bounce, it sort of loosens up their defense, whoever you're playing. And then there's a lot of good things that happen. You mentioned net front. He's gone to the net a lot. You're not always going to get rewarded, but that's the area where you're going to score a ton of goals if it's not, on that elite shot he has. So different ways for him. And again, I point to O'Reilly. He's played a lot with him. He's been with Paula. Whoever he plays with, it's when he skates, he's still very, very dangerous. And I look at his play over the last month and a half. Yes, he's being productive, but I think behind the scenes, things people probably don't see is just his leadership, his vocal. To mention Roman as the captain, at times, he has to be vocal in the right way. And I would say with Stamkos, the right things are being said in a positive way. But I think there's also times where, he's challenged the group behind the scenes that we've needed at different times where we started to get going and then we've dropped a little bit. So just those intangibles too from his experience for us are huge.
Darby, Reed Schaefer obviously got a lot of size to him. You talk about a former first-round pick. He's come in and I think has fit in really well on that line with McCarron. What have you seen from Reed Schaefer, and where do you think his game is kind of trending towards right now?
He's done a great job. That you look at that line with McCarron and Smith, they play against top people. So he's learning how to handle experiences against top people, and it could even be Draisaitl or McDavid last game at times when you're on the ice against them. I think there's 2 parts to his game. One, I think we expect or want him to get in, especially because he's a big, strong guy, not to run around and be, run around all over the ice, but just really be effective on the forecheck and have a physical presence. I think that's one thing for him, that we as a staff focus with him. And the other thing is get to the net. When he gets to the net, I think his first goal he scored just getting to the net. He has that presence, and he can get in there and create room, create space. But those 2 parts of his game, if he can be a physical impact on the forecheck and get to the net, those are just 2 starters. There's a ton of other parts for him to learn, but I believe he's done a really good job. And, again, a big line. And you look at our team in different ways. There's speed in areas. There's, guys like Forsberg who are creative, but we need a straight north-south line that plays hard. That would be Schaefer, McCarron, and Smith, who've done a really good job.
Well, Darby, it's been a lot of fun to watch. You guys are playing really well. It's going to be fun this weekend, taking on Colorado and Vegas before coming back home next week. We appreciate your time as always. Thanks so much for being with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Absolutely. You as well. Darby Hendrickson, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action, taking on the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow on the road. The Colorado Avalanche, who had their home winning streak snapped the other day, Joe. So
maybe it's about
they had won 17 in a row.
They're about to. Wait. Did they lose in regulation? No, that was
they
still
lost in
OT
overtime.
Yeah, they haven't lost in regulation.
They have lost in regulation on the road, but they're 33-4-8 on the season, including a 19-0-3 record at home.
It's about time for a home regulation loss.
Give the Preds gun in there and hand them their first regulation L coming up tomorrow.
That would be 2 wins over the Avs.
That would be.
Would that not tell you they could beat them in the playoff series?
Well, that depends on who you ask, I guess.
I'm just saying. What evidence? I mean, when the teams play, what better evidence is there?
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode is coming up next. We will have Charles Robinson coming up at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Oh my God, Margillian, what are you doing? Like,
He's got a big camera and he's asking about, something that nobody's ever going to see in their life. I do not think it's my camera.
hey, look at my lip, everybody. Vrabel, I used to enjoy the delicious taste of a Camel Light. Oh my goodness, what are you doing? I married my cousin last year.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. By the way, appreciate Darby Hendrickson for being with us in the last segment, brought to you by Aero Exterminators, going beyond the call. Aero Exterminators, a proud partner with the Nashville Predators. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode, brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Heal from the inside out. Check them out at functionalmedicineoftennessee.net.
Darby Hendrickson, a professional who comes across as a professional when he speaks on the air, unlike some people who shall remain nameless. And by the way, I officiated my cousin's wedding. I'm sorry that I said I married my cousin, okay? I officiated my cousin's wedding.
My cousin last year. Huh?
What were some of those awful sounds I was making? By the way, when I did the little Pavia thing a couple segments ago, I got a text from Katie who said she just texted, "Don't ever do that again."
We did have a texter text in earlier asking if I could teach you like a class on when you're making those loud noises, just like briefly stepping away from the microphone.
Yeah, I know.
I told him I'd see what I could do.
You're really good at that. And I actually get closer to the microphone. Like, so I'm basically making out with the microphone. That's probably not the right way to do it. How about this? How about this? Is that better? A little bit farther away.
Just adding more ammunition to the file. Look at Ian's already clipping it. Look at him.
Hopefully that was a little easier on the ears, everybody. Okay, well, I want to I have something here for this segment, I swear. So I'm going to go. I'm going to say this right up the front. I'm not ripping Ty Simpson anyway, but I'm going to read this quote. He talked to Chris Lowe for the story about going to the NFL, and he talked about the offers he was getting. So he told Chris Lowe, Tennessee, Miami, Ole Miss, throwing $4 million at him. Hurricanes then got it all the way to $6.5 million.
Yeah,
it's a big number. So here's Ty Simpson's comment on that to Chris Lowe. Quote for On Three. Quote, everybody would just remember me as the guy who took all this money and went to Miami or Tennessee for his last year, but I was a captain. I put my hand and footprints in the cement at Denny Chimes. I would have lost everything that I built at Alabama, end quote. So first of all, I mean, look, I like this sentiment of, I think there's a lot to it. And, I'm biased a little bit on this because I did a story on him and I talked to all his family members. I talked to him. They're great. And I'm a fan of this kid. I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL. He was a leader, really liked the kid. And I think that's a great sentiment in general. There is something about being part of a program, identifying with a program. When you're in the NFL, you don't have to say 3 teams, you say 1. You can. There is something about the networking and all those things. But I would the issue I take with that is I don't think he's going to those places just bailing on Alabama, right? Like it seemed that Alabama was ready to move on.
Yeah,
as we talked about, I think last week. Mm-hmm. With their very talented 5-star who sat out this week. So, I mean, to me, it's like, if that is the case, then I don't think you're ruining to play 1 year at a place and just make a business decision. I don't think you're ruining anything. And, I mean, we talked about this off the air, but it's like, I mean, when it comes down to it, like Ty Simpson is not going to be identified with a great era of Alabama football. It's not his fault, but like, quarterbacks at Alabama, many of them, and lesser quarterbacks than him, by the way, have won national championships.
Yeah.
So I just, I think that you could make a case for him to play another year of college football. He's going to go high in the draft. But this also brings up a texter who said earlier, well, why the heck, if you're going top 5 and you're talking about Dante Moore with Oregon, why would you go back to school? Again, let's talk it through. So I don't know if Anthony Richardson would be in a different situation, but Anthony Richardson is on the fringe of even ever starting again in the NFL. Some of that's injuries and things like that, but he as we've seen, he's not accurate enough. He's not consistent enough. You have to go. You have to go. You're going to go top 5. But that's the thing. You don't have to go now. You don't. You can make 4, 5, 6 million. Maybe a little bit lower when Richardson left. But we were up, that was what the Nico at that point had gotten the 2, right? Yep. 2.5 a year, whatever. Like, you don't have to go. And when you do go, now you start the clock. Okay. So Dante Moore goes to, who would he go to? The Jets. Okay. Well, guess what? Whoever the heck else is in that quarterback room, nobody wants to see them. Dante Moore, we want to see Dante Moore.
Right.
Did we all not just see that he's not ready? I think we did. But okay, you go top 5, you got to go. Okay, then go. And now you're on the Jets. And now, you got to go on the field. Okay. And now you stink. And so now everything has been accelerated, including your exit from the list of viable starters in the NFL. That's one good thing. You talked about the portal earlier. I agree. I mean, it's not a good thing for a lot of people related to college football, fans, coaches, players. But the money is something that actually can help people, one, obviously make money, which is good. Like, making money is good. But also, you can wait now until you're ready. You can give it another year. And the same thing is true, in basketball. And in some cases, it's guys who are never going to play in the NBA, but they're really good college players. And it's like, great. So I'm going to, Hunter Dickinson played 9 years, I think, in college basketball. So that's why I think the whole mindset of, I got to go should be out the window, especially at that position. And again, I'm kind of tying these two things together, Simpson and Moore. But yeah, I guess you could say, well, it would be really nice for the Vols if they had Ty Simpson for a year.
Sure.
I like, if that were the case, like, is Alabama, are they disavowing Ty Simpson? I don't think so. I mean, his teammates are still his teammates. And his coach is still his coach.
To your point, it's also like, I think circumstances matter, right? Now, first off, if you're going from Alabama to Tennessee, yeah, there are going to be a lot of Alabama fans that wouldn't like that. But to your point, it's not like this was just purely Simpson considering this. Like, Bama clearly has given him an idea that they were at least thinking about moving on, right? So, like, that's a two-way street on that front. And I think your point on Moore is a good one. Like, let's say he comes out this year and he's probably most likely going to the Jets. Well, you're going to the Jets, which is already a bad idea, with a coach that was frankly awful this year, that I don't think the patience is going to be very high next year, which probably means there's some pressure to play the rookie quarterback immediately to show that you've got some promise coming up. And then what happens if he gets fired? You're a coach, or you're a quarterback that was drafted by a coaching staff that at that point is no longer there. And you're on your next coaching staff that can easily come in a year and say, I didn't draft this guy. Like, that's how quick it goes sometimes.
Exactly.
In the NFL. So, and again, would Dante Moore have absolutely been drafted by the Jets? I have no idea. Maybe Ty Simpson will now. So, Ty, look forward to that.
Yeah.
But
Knoxville will sound pretty good.
It does kind of show you that I do think you gotta think these things out. I think the Richardson example is a good one. Yeah, he made good money getting drafted where he got drafted. Would it have been better off to go back and play college football and maybe hone your skills a little bit more to where you when the time came where you stepped foot on the field in the NFL, would you have been better prepared at that point?
I mean, Dante Moore not that long ago was not playable in college football.
Yeah.
And so he goes to Oregon to sit behind Dylan Gabriel and it ends up working out really well. He's good. Okay. I bet you a year from now, I bet you he'll look a lot more like an NFL quarterback. And by the way, we were wrong, or I was wrong on Dylan Raiola. He knew this was happening, and he's going to do the same thing.
Yep.
So Dylan Raiola, 5-star, start him at Nebraska. He's like, you know what?
He's going to be back.
I need to slow down here, throttle down, learn, watch Dante Moore, and then I'll be the starter the next year. I mean, I like that trend. That's one of the things that I like that's going on.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Charles Robinson will be with us coming up next from Yahoo Sports. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans head coaching search that is now going to be absent of John Harbaugh. That's coming up next. 94.9 The Fan, your home for Vanderbilt women's basketball. Tonight, the Commodores taking on Mississippi State at 5:30, pregame beginning at 5:15. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Hour number 3, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. It is Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, and that only means one thing. We head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcoming our friend Charles Robinson to the program from Yahoo Sports. Charles, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, gents. I'm I'm slightly sad that every spot moving forward, I wouldn't be able to begin the show by asking Joe to proclaim loud and proud that Jim Harbaugh is a cheater.
I am too.
Is he not a cheater?
We were talking about that earlier.
I mean, am I wrong?
I was hoping that every single show that John Harbaugh would be the Titans coach, and that I would ask Joe. So tell me about Jim Harbaugh, Joe. He's a cheater, right?
Start calling out his brother. Yeah.
Well, hey, in this town we have, the owner of the Preds, who the former governor here, I think seems like a pretty good owning a team, and his brother is not good owning a team in Cleveland. So, I mean, it happens. The same family. It's just like people trying to blame Diego Pavia because his brothers are out there keg standing it before the game. It's not his fault.
Very similar.
Yeah.
It's not John's fault that Jim's a cheater, and I would say that over and over again.
Okay, I'm sure John would have no problem with that. I'm sure it would never be addressed. Have you ever met John? He's not protective of Jim at all. Yeah. I'm sure he wouldn't have had a side conversation about that at some point. So.
Oh, well, we'll never know.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
We can just talk about it freely now.
So, Charles, I guess let's start there. It looks like, I don't guess the ink is dry yet, but John Harbaugh is about to become the next head coach of the New York Giants. There was some reporting last night that the Titans were prepared to go meet him today at his home in Baltimore. Obviously, that never materialized. So what do you make of the way that this came through for Harbaugh and ultimately his decision to land with the New York Giants?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was when he gets on the Tisch jet and he goes and he, flies there for the interview, and then he's telling other teams that he wants them to come to him and everything. I thought that was an interesting dynamic. Look, the Giants from the jump, right? That was the team that everybody believed he truly was most interested in. And I thought it was, when people start to talk about the Titans and the Falcons, and I'm reaching out to people, both agents who are dealing with coaches in the coaching search, but then also other executives and coaches throughout the league. And I'm kind of saying, like, help me square this, if this is really his list, this three. The most interesting thing that comes back is almost everyone immediately says, well, look at the quarterbacks in those three and compare them to the rest of the field. All three of those teams have what they believe are young quarterbacks that they, feel like they can succeed with moving forward. And none of the three quarterbacks that they have that are young are cap problems. And that's true. When you look at the field, you're like, oh yeah, these are three guys that were drafted to be the future. Now, especially with Penix, you can sit there and argue, okay, well, what about the knee injury and how much does that put things in flux? But between the Falcons, the Titans, and the Giants, it's all young drafted quarterbacks who showed at some point some element of success or growth in their first or second years as starters, and I think that mattered. But look, here's the thing about Harbaugh that I heard from the start, and I heard this, when he was a head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, and if he ever left, some of the things that Harbaugh would want was obviously a lot of money, and that got put out there, and then he wanted an element of influence in personnel. Like he wanted a seat at the table that was more significant than the seat that he ultimately had in Baltimore. And I don't think it was necessarily a problem continually in Baltimore, but I do think there were frustrations at times where he felt like he just wanted more say in what was going on in the draft and how the roster was ultimately constructed. Ultimately there was a consigliere of sorts that was put in place for him to feel like he was more connected to the front office. But I was told straight out, like, wherever he goes, if there's an existing GM in place, it's going to be more of a partnership and a give and take than really the way it was set up over the expanse of his career in Baltimore. And one source said to me, very specifically, think about when Sean Payton went in to the Denver Broncos to work with George Payton. That turned into two guys who were working together, but Sean was always getting what he wanted. Like at the end of the day, yes, they're working for each other and they're partners, but there wasn't going to be a situation where Sean says, I want X, and that ultimately wasn't what happened. He basically was going to be the deciding vote, and that John was going to be in a very similar situation. So to me, I question, okay, does that work in Tennessee? When Tennessee was brought up as this team that was on his list, It clearly would work I think in Atlanta, although I don't think the Matt Ryan addition as the head of football helped. I really don't, because to me, that is another layer of it's just another layer of bureaucracy now that he's dealing with. And, when you talk about the Titans, I don't know if Mike Borgonzi, if it would have been a situation where it's like, okay, Mike Borgonzi's working with him. Mike has the 53, but really is leaning into whatever John ultimately wants when it comes to pull the trigger on a move. I'm not sure if that ultimately would have worked out if they sat there and went through the interview plus $20 million plus and everything else that ultimately he wanted to occur. You would have, and by the way, it's not just paying him. His staff is going to be expensive. Everybody's known that through the process. They're like his staff of assistants, he expects the team that he's signing with to spend a lot of money to go get the best possible assistance. And then he's going to have a really sizable staff as well. So that expense is another one that you have to ask yourself, were the Titans, is Titans ownership on board with not only a fat deal for John and a heck of a lot of money, but also a fat deal for his assistant coaching staff as well, and shared power in personnel. That's a lot. So,
well, okay, but let me ask you though, Charles, because they're all getting on a plane. They were going to go get on a plane and go to Baltimore today. I guess we were talking about this earlier. Like, to me, Harbaugh's agent, like, how do you even get down the road to where he did with them if you don't have a general idea that they're good with that? I mean, you think that stuff comes up first time today if they would have talked?
Look, I'm not going to speak to it because I don't have the absolute direct knowledge where they checked off everything on his list to his agent.
But shouldn't that be how it goes though?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's what you hire an agent for.
Right.
You're like, especially when you're sitting here saying, okay, well, go out and find me. Here's my set of criteria. Go out and find me. Amongst these teams. But it's not even that. It's not like no coach sits there and says, hey, all of a sudden there's, there's 9 openings now. Well, it's really only 8 because I left one of those openings. Amongst those 8, go find. No, first off, the coach goes, here's 8. These are no-goes, like off the rip. I don't like the ownership. What I've heard about the owners. I don't like the quarterback situation. I don't like the cap situation, which is why Miami did not pop up in his group. I mean, Stephen Ross has wanted John Harbaugh for a long time. He's wanted Jim Harbaugh for a long time. He's been infatuated with those guys for years. But I think right off the rip, part of the problem for the Miami Dolphins, even though they were willing to interview Chad Alexander, who obviously he's got a track record with the assistant GM and with the Chargers and goes back to the days with the Ravens. The Tua problem is it was just too immense. It's like you don't want to walk in there and this is your first lift that you have to make is you're going to either have to carry the guy for a year and try to figure out, whether or not you can move forward with him, which I think John already has that opinion that he can't. And then B, you got to deal with the salary cap ramifications. So they go off the list. Or they're at least pushed down on the list of possibilities. But as you pair that list, and I'm not saying this is Tennessee, but there's going to be, you're not going to pair the list to 2 teams. There has to be more than one stalking horse. Okay. There has to be here's a group of teams that I'm interested in. Let me go in and see what the environment's like. Let me get a better look at, who's making decisions inside the personnel department. Let me get a feel for what the owner's like. What's our relationship ultimately going to, feel like? I want to have a face-to-face with the owner. And, those are all things that I think have to ultimately be sorted out. And I think he was much further down the road. Mara was talking to him immediately. Like John Mara was Amy on the phone with this guy immediately, or was Amy talking to his agent? Mara was talking directly to John, and that matters. So, I would never presume to say that the Titans, that was not serious, that there wasn't serious interest there, from both sides, but it is not surprising to me at all. This seemed like the most automatic fit based on how the owner acted, the pieces in place in the roster in terms of the talent, having the quarterback resolved, the cap being in a decent situation, and people knowing that Joe Shane was in a position where he was going to have to cede, some of the power that he has in the organization. That was going to be more of a shared partnership between personnel and coaching. the setup just, I think it was pretty clear from the start. And the Giants' job is very attractive as well. I mean, it's considered, I still think when you go out there and you talk to coaches, it is a marquee job. When you talk about whether it's, look, Green Bay, New York, some of these are just considered cornerstone jobs that if you go there and you win, it means maybe a little bit more. And it's the number 2 market in the NFL, number 1 market. And I don't know how LA and New York stack up now, but so there's all that to consider. I won't, again, I'm going to reiterate this so Titans fans can hear it. I don't have any sense that the Titans were not a realistic candidate to him. I just don't think they were on the top line the way that the Giants were. And I don't think any other team out there was on the top line.
So, Charles, what do you make of the Mike McDaniel part of all this? He's interviewing for 4 head coaching jobs. There's obviously interest in him in terms of being an offensive coordinator. I think Greg Allman put it out that, he would probably rather take a good offensive coordinator job than a bad head coaching job. So what do you make of kind of the situation that he's in? How attractive of a head coaching candidate is he based on the way things ended in Miami?
I think the attraction is there because of the fact that, it wasn't when he initially went in, there was an element of success. I think what happened with Tua from a health standpoint, there is an argument to be made from Mike that, hey, when he suffered the concussions that he suffered, things dramatically changed for us in terms of his ability to quarterback us to the level that we wanted. There were injuries. Tyreek Hill, again, when Tyreek Hill was playing at his peak and was on the field with Tua, the offense ultimately looked different. I still think a lot of people from a scheme standpoint, how he calls a scheme, how he designs a scheme, I think how he sets up his running game is very, very attractive. And it also helps him that, he's got some very influential people out there who think very highly. I mean, Kyle Shanahan thinks to this day that he's one of the best, coaches in the NFL, not assistant coaches, not head coach, all coaches, like one of the best minds in the NFL. And, I think so that acquits him when it comes to some of the problems that they ultimately had in Miami. That said, I think that's factual in terms of what his preference would be. I don't think he wants to go into a situation where he feels like he's a little bit behind the 8 ball as a head coach. And maybe there's this measure of, there's a feel of desperation, like, oh, he's just going out there and getting another job, another head job. And, wants to make sure that he's still considered, someone who's a head coach in this league. I think he would rather, like if it's a Detroit, a situation where he's going in the offense, he's got play calling when he goes through the door, and it's an offense that's really set up to have a lot of success and also be very creative with a core of players that will stay together. I think that's very much attractive to him, and he would rather, I guess I don't want to say resurrect, but I mean, I think he would rather embolden his resume. And I also think there's an element too of like Robert Saleh in this, and in that when Saleh left the Jets or was fired by the Jets, it was another very similar situation where I think there was some interest in Robert Saleh, immediately coming out of that in the next cycle, like, hey, maybe Robert could get a job. It wouldn't be the pick of the litter, but maybe Robert could still get a job as a head coach. And instead, Saleh goes back to San Francisco, place where he's familiar, the coaching staff's familiar, and it only takes him really one season of showing, hey, this is who I am again. Let me remind people of what I can do as a head coach and my leadership capabilities. And lo and behold, the next cycle, he's once again a very, very popular candidate. So I think Mike's in that kind of situation where it's like, yeah, I could potentially get a head coaching job and maybe, hurt myself more than help myself if it's a bad spot. Like, let's say, not saying it's Cleveland, but that's one of those teams that he's in play for. And Cleveland, obviously, I think for a number of candidates, they're wary of the Cleveland Browns because of the track record, the things that have happened, because they look at the quarterback situation. They go, okay, well, So is this going to be Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel? Those are my quarterbacks next season. I got to figure that out. And then, other things, other roster deficiencies that got to be fixed this offseason. I think you would see, like, is that better for Mike McDaniel, or is it better for him to go to Detroit, where he's going to have full reign over an offense? He'll basically be the offensive CEO, and he's got all those weapons to work with, and a head coach that a lot of people respect. So,
I mean, I would think, I would think that it, the OC, that would be a great place for him. If they figure out the offensive line, they're gonna be very good. He's gonna be great, I think, in an OC role, and he'll probably have a lot of possibilities. But I mean, he does have some of these possibilities. So you mentioned, Charles, the people being wary of the Browns, and we all know why. So what's the wariness level? Two things. What is the wariness level of the Titans, I guess, generally? But then also with McDaniel, because I've kind of come around to where I think he's my favorite candidate of the possibilities now that Harbaugh's off the table. I think the knock or the perception is great mind, but is he a leader of men, culture guy, all this stuff. I mean, I've seen some endorsements to that effect, but what do you think about those two things? The wariness of his CEO ability, and then just the Titans' job, because obviously Harbaugh, considering the Titans, to me, and I think it was real, probably says something good about the Titans' job.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, I would say in the expanse of the time I've covered the league, maybe somebody who I would, compare it to a little bit was when Raheem Morris got his first job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And there was sort of is he their friends or is he their coach? Is he where what's the divide there in terms of when he needs to step up in front of this group of guys? Does he command the respect where people in that room are I don't want to say afraid of him, but there has to be this edge where players are like, okay, that's not somebody I'm shoulder to shoulder with. He's in the front of the room and he's our leader, and he's, somebody that when he lays down what the agenda is and, what's on the masthead, we're going to follow that because there's this clear division. And at times I think it's a little blurred, Mike, I think he does connect with players, but I also think this last season, there's some questions about, okay, they're having these players only meetings, and Mike's like, I encourage guys to do that. But it was like early in the season, and then it was like multiple. And, that immediately raises some red flags where it's like, are these players like kind of separating themselves from the coaching staff situation to try to iron out, problems because they feel like the coaching staff or the head coach can't resolve that? That's a little bit of a red flag that, I think Mike probably has to address when he goes in, if anybody's asking questions about what went wrong in Miami. In terms of, and would I be concerned if I'm the Titans? Sure. I mean, I think every team, there's certainly a very legitimate list of questions to ask Mike about the Miami experience and how it unfolded. And in terms of, you asked how do people view the Titans? Like, what are the red flags? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, people are aware of the Browns' job. I mean, we've talked about, ownership. How much of a deterrent is that?
Sure. Right. Yeah. I mean, look, it's we're not going to talk about anything we haven't talked about before, okay? And there's not ownership there's questions, okay? Like, first off, when coaches have options, they typically reach out to other people in their network, whether it's GMs, whether it's other coaches, whether it's ex-bosses they've had in the league, and they say, okay, well, here's some of the jobs like I'm thinking about, and they will kind of go through some soundboarding with other people. And I think one of the problems that Tennessee has is that it's been messy, and it was messy recently. Like when John Harbaugh, when Tennessee got, was in the mix with John Harbaugh, I reached out to a few people and I said, what is this? Like, explain this to me. Like, help me understand this list. And I told you before, a number of people came back and said, it's quarterbacks. Look, he's clearly parsing out the teams that have this thing at quarterback. And I said, okay, well, what about some of these other factors? And immediately one of the things that got brought up was the 53, shifting from Chad Brinker to Mike Borgonzi, and that being a something that was reported, that's out there, that becomes a talking point. Then you start working backwards and you go, okay, here's this front office. And some people, by the way, view that as a demotion. I mean, I don't know how you guys want to view it or whatever. I think there's a lot of ways to look at the controller of the 53 moving down, but clearly it was absorbed by some others in the NFL. And then these like decision makers in other teams, people in other front offices who are like, that's a demotion. If I get the 53 taken away from me and it goes to the general manager, I've now lost a key piece of power that I had. And why did that occur? And again, I think there's a way you can look at it. Maybe it was built to be set up that way. And that's just, the structure's a little more clean. But whatever the case, that's how it's viewed externally. And then that goes into the ears of some candidates who are like, okay, that just happened. And how does that influence, if I'm a head coach going in, how does that influence my ability to get my hands on the 53? Because most coaches, particularly ones that have options, wonder, am I going to have to wear out the carpet going into your office to ask you to make a roster move? Coaches don't want to do that. They want to know that they can make the roster. If I want to cut a guy tomorrow, I can cut a guy tomorrow. If we're going to, do draft meetings, you're going to wait until I'm sitting at the head of the seat after the Super Bowl. We sit down and we come in for our first draft meeting, and I'm going to have the stack of reports in my hands, and I'm going to take us through what interests me. So I think all that matters. And then I think the track record of the front office has been messy for years. Mike Vrabel, the Mike Vrabel firing was messy. You go back to, just the general manager position, obviously going back, let's go back 3 general managers. Let's go back to John Robinson, right? It's been messy how all this has sort of been handled. And then you look at ownership and you go, where is ownership in all this? How often is ownership out there talking about A, what the vision is, B, what their level of responsibility was in making these moves and these decisions? Is it, if I'm a head coach and things are going on in the organization, is my owner at the podium alongside the general manager and myself speaking about, here's the vision, this is why this was done? Or is it left to the GM have to go out there and explain things? Does the CEO of football or the head of football operations have to go out there and explain things? Or is it just the head coach who's got to go out there at the end of the season and explain things? That all it matters, guys. It does, and it especially matters when you want to get into the ring with the heavy punchers, the people who are out there, who everybody wants to court and that's John Harbaugh. I'm not saying that affected John Harbaugh, but if you're going to land the best coach in a rotation, you better be able to answer those questions, or at least answer for why things went a certain way in your organization, and also why the guy you fired went to New England, took a roster that a lot of people didn't think a lot about, and immediately turned it around in literally one season. Granted, against the worst schedule in like forever. I get that, but they also went and won a playoff game, against the Los Angeles Chargers. So we can probably get away from the schedule being the only reason, Mike Vrabel had success in year one with the Patriots.
All right, Charles, last thing here for you quickly. Why has the Packers and Matt LaFleur not yet come to a deal? Like, should we be reading anything at all?
In other words, please tell me, Charles, he's going to get fired or leave.
Well, look, I will say this. It's been a minute now since this whole, hey, we want to work it out with Matt, and we want to be committed to Matt. Okay, well, like agents who represent coaches will tell you, for the most part, unless there's some granular details that need to be worked out about the power structure in the organization, if ownership comes to you and says, we're committed, we want to do this, we want to do an extension, they are not difficult deals to do if you accept the stratus, the tier in which the coach expects to be paid. And from the start, I think, there has been a question about what are the Packers really willing to pay him? And, he's making $5 million a season now. He's going into the last year of his deal, which in and of itself is indicative that it would even get to this point. Not a lot of people know who Ed Policy, like Ed Policy is still, especially in the football world, is very much like an unknown. Like, how does this guy deal? What's it like to go to the negotiating table with him? What is his, thought process on what the financial structure should look like with the Packers? And immediately it was like, they don't want to pay him like $15 million plus, which is what I heard the floor, the starting point to talk about an extension was going to be $15 million a season for Matt LaFleur. And so once you come out and make that commitment, though, now everyone's waiting, and that includes other agents in the coaching community who are trying to line up their own candidates as well as people who you would want on their staff. So they're sitting there and they're going, why is this taking so long? That's a 2 days, maybe 3 days. Okay, now where are we? Like, why is this deal not happened yet? And I said it, I think I said it on the podcast this week. I was like, okay, go ahead and let's start a stopwatch because as the longer this goes, the more it looks like the Packers do not want to ultimately do the deal that it's going to necessitate to get him locked down. And then when that doesn't get done, you turn to, are they going to do the lame duck year, or does he now become available? Like, is there a trade scenario where Matt LaFleur, if this gets a week into this, does, maybe if the Miami Dolphins haven't, locked down their coach situation, the Miami Dolphins call and go, hey, okay, so yeah, we're kind of willing. And by the way, I also think Matt's representation knows what he could get paid elsewhere. Okay. And Matt's representation also is sitting there and going, okay, man, now there's, even with John, taking a job, there's 8 other openings out there. And there's some good ones that are on the board beyond the New York Giants. I don't think it's great that it's taken this long. Right. And I think it's noticeable that he has not done the extension at this point. And I'm not taking him out of play yet. We did a coaching roundtable yesterday where they asked us, hey, kind of give us your thoughts on all the jobs and what you think could ultimately end up happening. And I was like, I think maybe we should put the Packers in here because I'm not convinced that whole scenario is done in the next couple of days.
Wow.
What a great conversation. That was awesome.
So excited you are.
Makes me very happy.
Yeah. I was at that game, by the way. I did the double.
Good stuff.
I did the Bears, Packers, and then I ended up getting on a plane and going and doing Patriots, Chargers. It was a wonderful 24 hours of football.
I'm sure it was. Charles, thank you, sir. Great stuff as always. Going to be fascinating to see how this process continues here. And we will talk to you next week, my friend.
I appreciate you guys. Real quick, you want to call your shot? Who do you think this is going to end up with there? Have you done that?
I think Stefanski will be the Titans coach.
Oh, okay. Joe?
Well, I said Harbaugh, so I'll switch to my number one, which is McDaniel.
Like McDaniel, Kevin Stefanski. No Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I think Nagy would be very disappointing for
pretty much everyone
many
around
people. Yeah,
yep.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the path of familiarity is the one
true.
that people choose. So
that is true.
All right.
True. Thank you, Charles.
All right. Take care, guys.
Charles Robinson, our guest, joins us every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. Got some tickets to give away, a 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam Freestyle Mania at Bridgestone Arena this Saturday night. Show beginning at 5:30. To caller number 5 at 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
The Giants, John Harbaugh hiring, no doubt brings some credibility back to New York, the kind of hire where everyone hurries up their process and says, you know what, we got to make sure we follow all the rules, we do everything we need to do, so we are poised to make a move. That's where the Giants were. That's why the Giants, they fulfilled the requirements by the NFL. They were able to hire Harbaugh. The Tennessee Titans did the same thing for the possibility of hiring Harbaugh. Remember, they were supposed to visit with him this morning until the deal got out last night. So what this means is that the Tennessee Titans essentially go back to their process. They are going to interview a couple coaches later in the week. They got Robert Saleh. They got Mike McCarthy, the former Cowboys coach, the former Packers coach. They're going to bring in finalists next week and really just continue along with the process as it should be. It certainly seems to me right now like Harbaugh is the outlier. Hire him, do that deal, do the whole thing now, do it fast because that's how quickly you had to strike. Everyone else will kind of go about the other 8 openings, and the Steelers are obviously just getting started with a little bit of a late start here this week. But everyone else will kind of go through the process, bring in finalists next week, and try to hire next week and probably into the following week before the Super Bowl. This was the only one, it seems, where there'd be a big flurry to make this happen.
And that was NFL Network's Ian Rappaport on the John Harbaugh / Titans situation there. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. 125 The Game. I'm taking over the rest of the show. Robby had to duck out. Well, we're going to have Jake Lyman come on for the last segment before leading into Next Man Up, his show, which is at 9. So, Ian, great night of college hoops last night. No, I'm just kidding. I won't turn this into a college basketball show. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to.
I mean, unfortunately, Vandy's streak came to an end.
That is true. Vandy's actually, I will. You know what? Jake is in Stark Vegas for a big one for the Vandy women tonight against Mississippi State. So I will. I'll ask him about the Vanderbilt basketball front. But yes, I stayed up, watched Vanderbilt. They got thumped by Texas. There are 3 unbeatens left in college basketball. Vandy, I think last night you saw a little bit of. I'd like them to have one more big body on that roster. The foul trouble really hurt them. But yeah, we can talk about that. But let's stay on topic. That
if we must.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a big deal here, and I understand there's a lot on the YouTube chat, and I've been going back and forth. It is popping. A lot of he was just using the Titans. He was never gonna, and you know he left the facility, which means that it was just a leverage play. I reject that. I don't think that he needed leverage. You know, I get leverage plays. I understand the concept, and I think that's definitely a thing that often happens. But I think in Harbaugh's case, I think the so the idea there would be that Harbaugh left, and then, okay, the Titans are going to come in the next day, and then the Giants called him and said, okay, fine, we'll give you ABC. I think ABC all the way till Z was already given to him because that's how bad they want it.
He didn't need to create leverage. He was already the top guy, right?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, again, you could believe that, like, there was something that they were – I don't buy that. I think that, look, it's a human thing to do. One, it's a human thing to be at a facility. Yeah, everybody talks about don't let them out. Don't let them out of the facility. Well, to be there, be under the gun and be like, I just need to think about it. What you do is you then talk to your wife, your brother, your parent, whatever, your close circle away from the team that's
your cheating brother. Your cheating brother.
That's right. Yes, exactly. You say, Jim, don't cheat me on your analysis. I want you to give me the real deal here. But you do that. You get away, you talk about it, and then it's like, you know what? This is it. Like, why waste the time of the Titans? They're trying to come in here to my house tomorrow. And, I mean, again, I think it was Albert Breer, I think, reported today. You know, it was going to be Brinker, Borgonzi, Berserker, plus Amy Adams Strunk.
Ready to go.
Heading to Baltimore. So, yeah, now, Kurt on the thing gave some Apple, Google, whatever. I'm not giving you the example. It's too convoluted. And again, it just doesn't. A real life example of like a candidate for like a job at a big company doesn't compare to this. This is the absolute most coveted coach in the NFL who's available, right? And that who's again to me already got whatever he wants from whoever. So that's how I view it.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I mean, he's already, like we said, he's already the hottest candidate. Like, he doesn't need to create leverage or get extra teams to come after him. Every team was already, putting out the feelers to the agents. So, not sure he was going to be able to sneak any extra money out. Was it like strictly money trying to get an extra mil? I think they probably, to be on the interview list, you have to agree you're going to pay top dollar.
Yeah, I mean, so it's reported he's getting 100 million over 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that it was like 97, and then all of a sudden I need 100?
Exactly.
I bet you 100 over 5 years was probably expressed like from the jump, right? So, I don't think that's the thing. Interesting stuff from Charles too on, the Titans' willingness. Again, I feel like even the fact that they were in this would have to say that they were committed to being right there with the money. But again, that's one of those things we'll never know. All right, we come back. We will bring in Jake Lyman to wrap it up here on Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. The Game Nashville Sports Network is your home for the College Football National Championship. Monday night, catch all the action on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan as number 10 Miami takes on number 1 Indiana. College Football Championship coverage on 102.5 The Game, 94.9 The Fan. Presented by Twin Peaks and Parman Tractor and Equipment. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5 The Game. I'm Joe Rexrode. Final segment, and we're happy to bring in our friend Jake Lyman, who, of course, at the top of the hour will begin his daily show, Next Man Up. Jake, coming to us from Stark Vegas. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Beautiful Stark Vegas. Big one tonight, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State.
Yes, so let's hit that quick. We're gonna rapid fire some things, but first of all, your takeaway from last night's first loss of the season for the Vanderbilt men, which kept them, I believe, tied for the best start, but did not allow them to record the best start. So your thoughts on that, and then also this, which I think is a challenging game for Shea Ralph's team tonight.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about the men's game in the last segment. Foul trouble was the big thing. You get McLaughlin and Washington into foul trouble early, and it was tough for them to match up with Texas in the paint. Nickel, Tyler, Tanner, and Duke Miles did their best on the outside to try and keep them in that game. But Texas is playing good basketball. Beat Alabama last week and now beats Vanderbilt. So Longhorns are hitting their stride a little bit. And you're never going to go undefeated all the way through a season. Maybe that's a loss that Vanderbilt needed, especially with Florida coming to town on Saturday. And for the women tonight, chance to surpass the best start in program history on their side, 18-0 with the win tonight. Mississippi State's interesting. They got beat by 50 by Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago, but it is a talented team. It's a team that's always around the NCAA tournament bubble. So not going to be easy, especially on the road, but Vandy looking for a big win before heading to Newark to take on Michigan in a top 10 matchup on Monday.
Yes, that is an exciting one for sure. So John Harbaugh to the Giants. Your thoughts on that, Jake? How disappointing? Where do the Titans go from here? Do you think the Titans were just a leverage play all along? What's your takeaway from this?
Yeah, it was kind of a roller coaster throughout the day yesterday with the reports that he was in New York and they're trying to not let him leave the building. And then he does leave the building and the Titans are supposed to fly in. But then late last night, it gets out that he's choosing the Giants. I don't think it was a leverage play all along. I think John Harbaugh intended to go through the process and meet with multiple teams. But I said it yesterday with Corey Curtis. If he doesn't meet with the Titans, it means that he knew where he wanted to go in his heart all along. And I think initially he probably wanted to stick to his word and still meet with the Titans since they had scheduled that flight to go out to Baltimore today. But I think also he realized he didn't want to waste anybody's time. And if he knew that he wanted to be the next head coach of the Giants, then that was where he was always going to end up. So I applaud Amy Adams Strunk. I applaud Mike Borgonzi for giving it their best shot. He was the best guy on the market. The Titans need somebody like that who's going to come in and set a culture and can get this team back to being competitive. But it did seem like it was the Giants all the way. And now the Titans have the other 18 people that they're interviewing to fall back on.
Yeah. So Rappaport, we just played Rappaport last segment talking about, this was obviously an acceleration. You gotta go all in, put your chips in, try to get him. So, okay, it doesn't happen. Now you go back to your process. I still would argue that, and PK brought this up on our show yesterday, and I totally agree. Like, this is also a race for staff building, not to say that you take any shortcuts, but like you got to move on this. The big domino has fallen. I mean, the Packers thing is interesting for sure. So you keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, I do think there's some urgency just to, there are some coaches that several of these new head coaches in new places are going to all want, and you want to be able to build a good staff. But right now, Jake, who you think it will be, who you would like it to be, let's take like LaFleur out of it until he actually were to come free. What would those two answers be for you?
Man, it's tough. I'm sticking with Mike McCarthy as who I want it to be. Just, if you're going after John Harbaugh, you're getting a lot of the same things with Mike McCarthy, the pedigree of success and experience. it's a little less sexy than John Harbaugh, but I think Mike McCarthy brings a lot of the same things that you would have wanted in Harbaugh. Who I think it's going to be, I really don't know. And TD's on with us on the show today, and I'm going to ask him that too, because we haven't heard a whole lot of buzz, right? We haven't heard buzz about any of these interviews. Like, I would have expected if Matt Nagy was the guy that was the leader far and away out of the bat, we would have heard after his interview, hey, Matt Nagy had a great interview. They're going to move forward. Maybe he gets a second interview. We haven't heard anything. If I had to pick somebody, I think it's going to be, I guess maybe Robert Saleh, maybe,
okay.
But he still hasn't talked with the Titans. I think that's coming up this weekend. Mike McDaniel could be in there. Kevin Stefanski. I mean, they're talking to everybody and anybody they can. So I guess we'll see. But Mike McCarthy is the guy that I hope it is.
Interesting. Yeah, we talked a lot about that today. That, you know, if you really want to compare these guys, like I think Mike McCarthy is getting a little bit disrespected by some people in the process, but that's also, you know, when you're out of it for a little bit, you know, I think that can happen too. And obviously, things did not go well in the postseason. I think the least exciting possibility at this point, well, maybe not least, but like way down the list would be Nagy. I feel like, and again, I don't think it's a terrible idea, but I think people don't want Nagy. And it might be Nagy.
I think that would be the decision that would have the fan base the most upset.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you and TD will pick up the discussion. Next man up coming up with Jake Lyman. And thank you for listening, folks. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.